especially if you're coming from a programming background. If you know other programming languages, I found this course very helpful if you sit down with a strong coffee for a couple of hours and just run through that. You see the patterns between other programming languages and node.js. To get started, just come to several pens, github.com several pens, Blockex API, and clone this using your favorite method. You can use GitHub Desktop, which is an application, or if you install Git, you can use the command line to install. To work with this, I'm going to use Visual Studio Code, and I'm just using the embedded terminal to work with this. To get the software down, I'm just going to type git clone and then the URL from here. Now that's downloaded, I'll just cd in and just open that folder in Visual Studio Code. So again, control back tick to open the console. Now I'm in the actual project. I can npm install to download all the packages. While that's downloading, I'll just open a new console window and just npm list and this is just the list of some of the globally installed packages on this computer. Most importantly, I've got node.mon, which I'll use to run this project, and express, or if you want to create a new project using the same method, express generator. Back to the downloads, so that has finished. So next I should be able to just go node.mon start, and that returned an error. Sorry, I forgot a step. I need to set up the .env file. To set up the .env file, just get the demo and just copy this. And just make it so you've got a file called .env. As you can see, the variables we need to fill in, we need a connection string to a MongoDB database, an Infura account, and this is just the database that it's going to store to, which can be left alone pretty much. To work with MongoDB, just come to MongoDB and follow the instructions. You can do a full download, but I often find it's easier just to work with MongoDB Atlas, which is their cloud hosting service. So set up a MongoDB cloud account, which will provide a connection string that you can use, and so all your information will be stored in the cloud, so you don't have to worry as much about setting up a local host server, MongoDB server, which is a perfectly viable option. It's not that much harder. Probably the added advantage of MongoDB Atlas is you can share the information with other people more easily. The other thing that's needed is Infura. So sign up to Infura and you should get a key. And now I've filled out that information. It's in my .env file. So I can come back over to here and node.mon start should start up the application. Just click on here and this is the running application. So I just had to do an update. So again, node mod start to get it running, and then go to localhost port 9002, and this is the application. To first see the contents of what is being captured, what is being stored in the database, just use one of these endpoints. This first one is an Ethereum capture of blocks and transactions. So for each block that comes in, it lists details of the blocks, of the block, and all the related transactions. This can be fairly massive, so I try to limit this. If I go to the code here, when it does a get, if you look at the get command, no, it looks like it's getting it all. What it should be doing is limiting the number of stuff that comes back, or else it's just going to jam up the browser. If there is nothing in there, you can go to this path, and this will start the extraction. The extraction, if you go to this path and look at start, it is going to go on a new block. It's going to run this block handler function, and the block handler function is getting whenever a new block comes in, it gets that number and does a search on the block. So this will run continuously. As you can see here, the blocks are coming in. To kill it off, just hit stop, and we should see no more blocks coming through. The same goes for Bitcoin. Ethereum is managed through a npm library called express.js, whereas the Bitcoin, this is a bit more conventional. It's just a connection, a generic connection to blockchain.com API WebSocket. So a TCP connection to an API.